So I felt like doing a little, basically rant. Because there's something that's really been bothering me lately. Why is the Emoji Movie a thing? Why the hell did a whole bunch of people sit down in a briefing room, do all this discussion, and then conclude, you know what, this is a brilliant idea. This is going to be a box office smash hit. This is the best thing we can possibly come up with and spend millions of dollars on the Emoji Movie. Why did this happen? How the fuck did we get here? Why the fuck did we think this was a good idea? And how can we stop this in the future, I suppose? I think the thing is, these are questions I've been thinking about for quite a long time. And the basic gist of the Emoji Movie is it's pretty much the logical conclusion of the sort of the sheer market-centric approach to making movies these days, because it's not really being developed out of any kind of it's not developed out of any kind of desire to make a good movie. It's not really developed out of any kind of desire to tell a unique story. It's not really being done out of any kind of feeling that these are unique characters and they can put a clever spin on them. This isn't trying. The thing is, I'm not saying that product movies are always terrible, because if that's the case, you have to disregard the Lego Movie. But the thing is that the difference between the Lego Movie and virtually every other movie of this type is that the Lego Movie, and indeed the Lego Batman movie, had talented writers who actually understood what they were doing, and actually had an idea of how to satirize their how to sort of make fun of the product they were working with, how to make an entertaining film, and how to actually make good dialogue. The Emoji Movie, and most of the other films like this, films like Minions, films like North and North, have no idea what the hell they're trying to achieve, except for making money. And the thing is that, I know there's the whole sort of art versus commerce debate, really, but the thing is that when you consider things like this, it basically just boils down to the simple fact that they saw emojis and thought this was going to be something that makes them a lot of money. It wasn't really developed out of any kind of love for emojis or feeling that that this is the best we can do, this is something really clever we can make fun of. And the thing is, the irony is, I can see someone making, vaguely, I can see the idea of making a film that actually has some kind of capacity to satirize emojis. It's kind of an easy culture to mock, and it would be quite fun to see that sort of idea being taken apart. And the thing is that, if anything, even though it had a lot of flaws, Sausage Party did prove you can do a satirical animated comedy. It's just that the Emoji Movie has no ambition to be that. It clearly has no talented people working on its writing team, no talented people working on its producing team. No one is invested in actually trying to make something that's going to be memorable or good. And that's thoroughly depressing, because really there's no reason that you shouldn't try your damnedest to actually create something good. I mean, it's like something that a lot of people have said about 50 Shades of Grey is that it's a horrendous movie, but you kind of get the impression they were actually trying to make something kind of passable, rather than just, saying, fuck it, we're not going to bother. Whereas the Emoji Movie is basically the cinematic equivalent of throwing your hands up in the air and walking and storming out of a test. Because there is no sense they're actually trying. There's no sense they're actually going for anything more interesting than lowest common denominator crap. Because the thing is, look at the character base. You basically have ordinary, boring guy who's like basically the chosen one because this is the most creative story we can come up with. You have token girl who's supposed to try and look interesting or something, but in reality we all know it's just like a sort of hipster piece of shit to get people just surging into Hot Topic and buying t-shirts. You have the Stephen Wright guy, who's basically just there because they're just that desperate to try and... The thing is, it's one of those things where the actors aren't necessarily terrible, but the writing around them is just god-awful. It's like, I feel like the biggest problem with Hollywood movies these days, it's not even really the, it's not even actually the problem being the, how talented the people involved are. It's more that people just aren't trying, that writers just aren't trying, because they get their paycheck no matter what happens, and it doesn't really matter how investing this is, how good it is. It'll be completely crap anyway because it's a stupid topic and they don't think there's any way they can do anything interesting with it. And I think, to be fair, if we're comparing it to Norm of the North, that wasn't a movie with any talent in any department ever. But the thing is that it's somehow even worse, because at least Norm of the North was trying to tell a kind of something that comes off as even vaguely original. Whereas Emojis is just the most absolutely bland, pointless fucking thing you could do. It's like you couldn't get much more pandering if you decided to do a meme movie. Actually, to be honest, they probably will do a meme movie at some point, but the thing is, that's just the level we've sunk to. That apparently the Emoji movie is the best thing we can come up with in in Hollywood. The fact that people are just sort of saying, I give up, let's just do this. Let's just create something which people will go and see because it's an animated movie with branding on it and crap jokes and lazy stuff that kids will like. Actually, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of Cat in the Hat. Because it's just this cynical approach that's been tried and tested so many times before of just throwing some adult jokes, throwing some jokes that kids will like, throwing some sort of really immature crap, and just completely butcher the idea of a source material that you could do something interesting with. But the thing is that, if anything, the Emoji movie is even worse than that, because at least with Cat in the Hat, at the very core, there is actually something that kind of works, the original story. Whereas with the Emoji movie, it's not even an original story. It's basically, from what we gather from the whole plot breakdown, it just sounds like, it basically just sounds like the Lego movie with emojis, but ridiculously stupid and with none of the charm. And the problem is that there's just absolutely no sense that anyone involved cares, or is trying, or has any kind of investment in what they're doing. And I can't say that emojis is like a very encouraging thing to be working with, but when you have an opportunity to make a film, to make something that millions of people will go and see, that should be an opportunity. That shouldn't just be a thing where you sort of say, fuck it, I won't try. Because when you try, and you actually create a movie that's investing and good and clever, it can, especially animated movies, you can create something really timeless. You can create something that people go back to and sort of, look back in wonderment, I suppose, and kind of is memorable and beloved. Even if it's only by a certain group, it's still beloved and it's still good and it's still something that people will consider to be, completely worthwhile. I mean, there are still people today. There are still people who remember the Don Bluth movies. There are still people who remember things like Roger Rabbit. There are still people who remember the even movies that aren't actually that good, stuff like Spawn Princess or Anastasia or Road to El Dorado. They're still well remembered. They're still well liked because people put effort in and they try to create something which will be memorable and clever. And the Emoji movie just has no ambition to do that because they just figure if we slap emojis on, people will go and see it no matter what. And I really, really hope that this is the breaking point. And people just sort of say, no, this is too stupid, this is too cynical, this is too pathetic. You have to put in more effort than this, because we're not really sucked into this stupid bullshit. We want to actually see something that's engaging, and something that's funny, and something that's clever. But then again, I guess we can hope, but to be honest, kids' animated movies kind of always have an easy road. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. But to be honest, I think there's just a cynical, terrible, awful part of me that is kind of tempted to go see it. Mostly out of sort of cynical curiosity. I'm just baffled by how terrible and how unfunny and how awful it's going to be, and how much of an absolute cynical mess that they're going to create, and how much acting talent they're going to waste, how much useless, stupid dialogue they're going to make. Just, how far will they go for a product that is pathetically cynical and awful? And I guess that's all I really have to say. Rant out.